Talks, where we talk about books, book drama, and our bookish opinions. Today we'll be doing our June reading wrap up. For more content from us, you can find us at Literary Liberation around the internet, and we are currently raising money for Code Pink still, so there's a link in the description down below if you are able to donate to help the Cuban people while they're facing this horrible blockade from the United States government. Other than that, I'm your co-host Kristen. You can find me at TensPBR on all social media platforms.
And I'm your other co-host Mariah, and you can find me at Hungry Right on all social media platforms.
So we are filming this a little bit later than we normally would for a wrap up too, because somebody got sick. So
it was a busy month, like between me getting, I don't know, mystery illness. At least I can talk now. And just there's a lot going on in June. Kristen has big news.
Do I?
I don't know. Do you?
Oh, I mean, I got engaged, but I don't think that's like
that is a big deal. You're like,
but not for like people on the internet. Who cares? They don't know me.
It's exciting. It's exciting. It's a positive news you should want to share with the world.
Okay.
He put a ring on it. Finally.
Okay.
But we'll see one of your pretty pictures in here now.
We haven't even posted them online yet, so
maybe it's like exclusive literary liberation.
Anyways, well, so in June, I ended up reading 7 books this past month, which is actually down 13%. Because I think I read 8 books last month.
I read 10 books, which was down, I don't know the percentage, it was just down 2. So, it was a slower month. Especially with getting sick. And my kids were busy because we had summer camps and stuff.
Yeah, we were traveling, so we were gone for like almost a week too, at the beach. And then, but I did actually have good ratings this month. My average rating was 4.07 stars, which is up 0.5 stars from last month because I was down to like 3.5 stars last month. So I'm doing better.
See, I had the opposite. I was down almost a whole star. I got a 3.15 star average this month. And I don't know why, but that's pretty low.
I mean, I don't know. I was finally happy because I feel like this is probably my highest rated month all year because I've just been reading. I don't know. Nothing I've been like wowed. And I feel like it's kind of biased too because I'll talk about it too, but I had quite a few rereads this month. So that's probably more why too my rating is higher.
This is true. I forgot about that.
But I read 2,123 pages this month, which is down 24% from last month.
I read 2,807 pages, and that was down 1,072 pages from last month. June was just not my month. I don't know what it was.
I mean, usually
reading-wise, I just couldn't do it.
This is a better June for me than like any other June. Usually I go into a big book slump over the summer, and I usually only read like, I don't know, 10 books over like June through August. So I actually kept up. And my average time to finish a book was 6 days, which was the same as last month for me. So I've been staying steady at least, which is good for me because normally I'm not very consistent. In June especially, it starts to fall off bad.
Yeah, mine was about 10 days, so start to finish, which we kind of figured this out a couple months ago. That's how Storygraph calculates it. So mine was 2 days faster. So I'm hoping that might keep up, especially with the fun little challenge we're going to be starting the month of July, which we'll get into later.
From whenever we're recording this. Yeah, but I guess. Are you ready to get into what we read? Do you want to start? Because you have more technically.
Sure. This I think may have been like the best book that I read all month. And it's Kill Anything That Moves, The Real American War in Vietnam by Nick Terse. And this is a really thorough insight into a lot of the atrocities that happened during the Vietnam War that you have not heard about. I know there's some like main ones you hear with like Agent Orange and whatnot, but this gets into just like the countryside and just how evil the U.S. military was. And I think this is one of the only nonfiction books that I have ever read where I had to physically set it down. Like, I didn't have to do that with Jakarta Method. I didn't have to do that with Still Life with Bones. Like, those are still very heavy reads. This was the hardest one that I've ever read, and I would recommend it to every single American, especially when you look at what happens in Vietnam, and you can see so many parallels to different instances in the world, especially right now. Like, I know we talk about God like every single episode, but there's just so many similarities with the just overall like military tactics. It will make you appreciate the Viet Cong so much more. This is a 5-star read. Very, very solid. I recommend it to everybody.
Okay. I know I added that to my TBR too once you were talking about it, because you were talking it and you're currently reading last month. But my first book that I finished this month was They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us by Hanif Abdurraqib. I read this as an audiobook. I picked it up on Mariah's recommendation. We have talked about this book in length like last month, and we also just did our memoirs like discussion last month, so we already did talk about it in length there. But if you don't know anything about it, it's basically a series of essays different through the subject of like different music artists that Hanif like life growing up, but then also like what music he was listening to at the time and how that relates to his life and the story. It's really great. Like, I think if you like music, or if you like Midwest culture, I feel like it talks about that stuff a lot. I think the audiobook narration is done very well, except for there is one like essay that is not in the audiobook. So if you want to read that essay, you do have to get a physical copy. But I mean, that essay is very important, but I do think you'll get the majority of the gist too by being able to listen just to the audiobook. And I gave it 5 stars, so
I knew you would like it. I'm glad
yeah.
that really hit home with you. And when we're in Columbus in a couple of days, Hanif is going to be doing a moderation on this panel that we're going to.
Yes.
And that's why, honestly, that's why I'm there. It's for Hanif. That is the only reason I got tickets for that, so I can be as close as I possibly can to him. Because like, I learned so much about Ohio from you.
It'll be so interesting too, because I feel like this will be like my first time like being like celebrity adjacent more than like any other time ever for me. I don't know about you, if you've ever met any like celebrities, quote unquote.
I went to Comic-Con, like, so there's like David Tennant and.
But did you meet them?
I was like 10 feet away from him. I kind of like looked at. I did meet
that
like
doesn't count.
YouTuber. I've met like Helen Quinn. I don't know.
I've never met any celebrity ever.
We're gonna see what happens. You're gonna be like
famous.
Deer in headlights.
I don't know.
Up next on my list is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. This is a dystopian queer western, which is a mouthful, but it's about this woman who escapes her kind of like fash community, even though the whole world is fascist, but specifically her small town, to join like these traveling librarians who are kind of meant to spread the good word, but they're actually kind of spreading propaganda to help resist against the society they live under, and they're all kind of gay. So that's cool. I thought it was quite fun. It's a nice little novella. If this was a standalone, I don't think I would like it as much, but it is going to be a little series. I don't know how many books are going to be into it, but I did read this because we are going to the book fest and Sarah Gailey is going to be there. So I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. That was nice. I enjoyed it.
And then speaking of Sarah Gailey, I read Spread Me this month because Mariah had already read it in the past, and we were like, oh, we need to review it on the podcast. So we did already review that earlier this month too. But basically that's just a novella following a group of queer researchers and in the desert when somebody gets possessed by like an unknown entity. Mariah's described it as The Thing but queer, but I've never seen The Thing, so I can't make that comparison. But
and horny.
Yeah,
that's an important distinction to add in there.
But I read this for the podcast. I probably would not have picked it up if we weren't reviewing it for the podcast personally, because I'm not a big erotica reader, really. So it was fine for what it was. It just wasn't really a novel for me. I gave it 3.25 stars, where it's just, this is not my genre to really read. I like science fiction, but I don't love like the super, this book is really, I don't know, like descriptive about like and smutty and stuff, and that's not something I like prefer in my novels, so that's why it's not really for me. And I do think like the politics in it, they could have been way more in depth for what I was looking for in a read. So it was fine. But again, we talk about that in depth on the podcast, which will be linked below if you really care.
The next book that I read, this is the only piece of One Piece that I read this month, was volume 35. It was called Captain by Ichidora. Ichiro Oda. Oh my god. Please don't crucify me. Anyways, it's hard to talk about these because I'm like a third of the way through. So it's just like people were wondering, this is C7. 7C, I don't remember. There's so many different arcs. Anyways, Usopp has left the gang. Now they're fighting Frankie. And there's some other like world stuff in plot. This is a very like plot heavy installation, like these chapters. So I thought it was good. It was a 4-star. There's just not a lot happening. It's kind of just building up. But that's where I'm at in the manga. And I'm gonna read more. I'm getting more for the airplane. So sorry.
The next book that I read this month was a reread for me. I read this book originally last year. It's Vicious by V.E. Schwab. If you don't know, is the third book is coming out later this year, and I got approved for an arc, so then I wanted to do an audiobook reread before I went into the arc. And so basically, this is like, if you don't know anything about Vicious, it's kind of like if the X-Men and the OA had like a baby, and it's this book. You follow two dudes, Victor and Eli, who were best friends in college, but then Eli basically was responsible for getting Victor locked up in prison, and so you kind of are unfolding the events of why that happened. And I really love this first book of Vicious. It is of the V. Schwab novels, which I think I've only read Vicious and Vengeful by her. Am I wrong? Did we read something else by her?
We have floated the idea of reading
I know the
Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
No, but I feel like maybe I read something else. I don't know, but I don't know. I really do like this one. I think this one's really good. It's a lot of fun. I think it's got a lot of like tropes, or I think if you like Six of Crows with like the found family aspects, that is like a major theme within this one. And if you like the OA or X-Men, I think you should read it. I gave this one a 4.5, which is the same as what I gave it whenever I originally read it. The audiobook narrator actually did a really good job, because whenever I read it the last time, I physically read it, but I thought the audiobook narrator was really good for this. But yeah, I think I really do like this first novel a lot. It's one of my faves.
The next book I read, another one prepping for Ohio, is The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. This is the first in the Dragon Spirit duology, and it's a Mulan retelling. I didn't realize I had seen this book at like the thrift store, and I knew it was there. So I went and picked it up, and I didn't read anything about it before I got it. And I really like how it is written. I like the character development. It's listed as a romantasy, but there's no smut in this. I'm gonna be honest. But it's very much like They Touched Hands. They like go through all of that, like very like, if you're wondering about the romance. But it's done really
That's
well,
the
and
best
I think
kind.
it's really nice. And each chapter kind of begins with these old, kind of like, they're from like genuine Chinese folklore, like stories. So you're kind of like getting little tidbits that are tied all together. I thought it was really nice. I gave it a 4-star though, because some of the pacing, it's a little slow, and I really don't know how it's supposed to be a duology. I think that's kind of like what gets me. So I can't like rate it higher.
I was trying to read that before we went to Ohio, but my Libby hold never came in, so
darn. Rip.
Well, next up on my list, which is also on Mariah's list because we read this with our book club for June, it is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I did this as a physical read, which basically in this book you follow a young American man named David as he explores like his sexuality and his life in 1950s Paris. I mean, we really like this book. It is lit fic, so like if you haven't read it, it's not like a super plot focused book, so you kind of do have to be more into like following only characters that especially suck too, which I feel like that's like what makes lit fic is by reading about terrible people doing terrible choices. I think the first half is a little too slow for me, and the second half does end up doing a much better job, so I give it 4 stars. I know Mariah was somewhere around the 4-star rating too for it. But this is, again, one we discuss fully in depth on the podcast, which will be linked below if you want to know our full nuanced opinions on it, where we talk about everything with like what Giovanni's room represents and all of that within it.
Yeah, I agree. I think James Baldwin, his writing style alone, though, is just really superb. I will read a lot of his other books, especially like the shorter ones, just to see what he's able
I've
to
heard
like
his
bring to the
essays
table.
are really good.
So that might be like the more strong suit, but even reflecting back, like there is something missing for me, but it's not enough where I would never recommend this to anyone. Like it's a really wonderful.
It's a great queer
little
novel for like Pride Month too. I'm glad we read it for
It
Pride.
hurt.
It was sad.
But I was not crying. You know, if I had been crying, 5-star book. But there were no tears.
I agree.
Next on my list is this book called Graveyard Shift by Emma Rio, which you may have heard. They have another book called If We Were Villains. I remember seeing that on Book Talk a while ago.
That's like about the Shakespeare people or something, and like a secret society.
So. I saw this at the used bookstore and I was like, oh, perfect, Summerween. And it's just like this little novella, and the cover of it is beautiful. It'll be on the screen right now. You're looking at it if you're on YouTube or something. I don't know. But it's about like these people in this college town, and they like stay up late for whatever reason, and they smoke cigarettes together in a cemetery. Like that's just like how it got started. But then they're starting to like figure out this mystery. It's so much. There's so much happening. There's 6 POVs. This is 130 pages.
That's a lot.
And they're like time stamped, and each character has like a ton of shit going on, like in their personal lives. It's way, way too much. And it's a bummer. And then by the time you get to the end, it feels so incomplete. Like I looked to see if I was like missing pages, and I had to double check on like Goodreads to make sure that like the print was correct. It was crazy. One of those books. I've never had that happen. So I was like, it's like a 2.5 star. Super big bummer because it reads really nice. So I might try the other book. But this one, I would not recommend it. Don't let the cover deceive you.
And then my next book this month was Vengeful by V.E. Schwab, which again I read through audiobook. I don't want to spoil the first one for you if you haven't read it, because I don't know if people... This one, obviously, the second book obviously does spoil the first book, so that's why I'm not really going to say anything about it, but you are kind of following the same characters as the previous book. I don't hate this book, because I do think like Victor as a character, and with what the hell is her name? I lost it, and then Sydney. Like with Sydney and Victor, like I love their dynamic and everything, and I love all the characters within the story. And that's literally like the only reason why it's worth continuing the series, is because of the character dynamics. So the plot is so chopped. Like it's so stupid to me. And I think Victor and Eli, like their relationship is not even as good as what it was in the first one. But they do make this book worth reading. If you're like super obsessed with them in the first book, then I say it's worth picking up the second book. But I really recommend like most people just reading Vicious as a standalone. So that's why I'm really curious about what this new book is going to do, because I gave this book 3.5 stars, which again, I really, 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 really like Victor and Eli's dynamic, and Sydney and everything like that, and Mitch and all of that. But if you're not gobbling up the first book, and even if you like to gobble up the first one, and the way that it ends, I think it ends very satisfyingly, where you could just be like, okay, this is a great standalone novel, you know, where like I don't need anything else. And that's how it should stay, in my opinion. So I am really, really curious to see how this third book goes, because I don't even know. Because again, it also ends well enough where you don't need more story. So, but I think this is one of V. Schwab's most popular novels, is it not? Like the first one is Vicious and Vengeful.
I think so.
I thought they were, and so that's why it's like it feels like money hungry to me, low key. Let me see.
She's got a lot of books, though.
She does have a lot of books, but okay, so Vicious is in her top 3 most popular. Oh, I've read Gallant. That's what I was thinking too. I have Gallant, whatever, by V.E. Schwab. I knew I read something else by her. Which I do like. I do like Vicious better than I like Gallant, but I wouldn't say that I like Vengeful better than I like Gallant.
Oh, and I have
Gallant,
that
whatever.
book, or maybe I got rid of it. I don't know. A Darker Shade of Magic.
I
I
think I
remember I
have
found that
that.
at the used bookstore. But
I
I was
have
like, I don't know if I'm gonna read this.
I have a couple of her books, which I don't know if they're worth like reviewing for the podcast or anything, unless anybody's like, "Oh my god, please review this!" Like then we would review it for you guys. Unless it would be like in one of these wrap ups, which I'm still interested in checking out more of her work, but I don't know how I feel about her series because I do like I'm telling you, Vicious is like the perfect standalone novel. There's no reason for there to be more. No reason at all. Which I don't know. Maybe the third book I'll be changing my tune, but
I don't know, because you're very much like a more is more type of girly too. So like the fact that you're saying
usually,
that, where you're like,
usually
it's done.
it was fine. Like I gave it 3.5 stars again, which I lowered it because I think originally I gave it 3.75 stars whenever I first read it last year. But I don't know. It doesn't hit like it doesn't. It's not the same as the first. The first one is just so like chef's kiss. Like those are my children, and this one's just like okay, I got to hang out with my kids, but like I didn't. They kind of annoyed me the whole time.
I feel that. My next book that I read, which I really want Kristen to read this, I think after I explain it, we might have some substance here. This is another Ohio book. This is like what I did in June, was just prep for this book festival, but it's called Hope Ablaze by Sarah Mukal Rana. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. This is not her most popular book. She's there
It's
for
a
some fantasy book.
Yeah.
But I had this available on my Libby, and it's a YA lit fic. I don't pick up YA books very often, but it's about this senior Pakistani girl. So she's in high school, right? But it's her senior year, and she goes to this park, and she's wearing her hijab, and she goes to pray because it's time to pray. And she gets frisked by the police, and this like Democratic progressive candidate is like doing some sort of like campaign in the park, and her whole community and like neighborhood has been like, oh yeah, we like him, he's been going to the different mosques, and he witnesses it, and he says some like really Islamophobic shit and just like turns his back on her while she's like having her hijab like removed. So anyways, she's in this like poetry club, and she writes about it like in this like little book, and her poetry gets submitted to this competition where she's just like ripping into this dude, and it wins a national competition, and it's all over the news. And she's having to reconcile with like this public backlash where there's like people that are like, wow, you just want the Republicans to win, and then the other part is like the people in her community are like, yes, I'm glad that you're saying this. And it's a lot for a young girl, and I just really really like this, and I felt like I learned so much about like Pakistani culture, because she's also like, there's elements of like Indian culture in this too, and I don't know if that's probably because of like the proximity of the countries or what. I'm really not that great with geography, I'm sorry. But I just felt like I learned about like the struggles of immigrants, and it's so well written, and I enjoyed it, and I like the little like poetry editions, and I think we could have like a whole conversation about it because it was just a really lovely novel, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I was like, wow, this was done super well. I don't know, I've never heard anyone talk about it, but if you were looking for one, I would let my kids read this. Like, it's great. I think this should be recommended to schools. Meet her. I know, fingers crossed. I was like, oh my god.
She has any panels too. Mariah and I will probably be at those panels, you know. My next book that I read was Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This is a physical read, and I read this because I was going on vacation and I needed something kind of beachy, and my fiance had read this already last year, and he was like, you should read this on the beach. It's very like beachy vibes. But I think this is a book that you don't want to know anything about, because it does actually have some like shocking twists and turns. But basically you're following Piranesi, who like lives in a labyrinth, and he's trying to find out like the point of all of it. And like I really was not like, I'm usually someone who's pretty good about guessing plot twists, and I won't say that I was like super like shocked by everything, but it was a really fun and interesting read. It's basically like, if you like the back rooms, like this is like the back rooms. That's what I would say is like the vibe. So it's like kind of scarier than what I was expecting, because I didn't know anything about it whenever I first read it. I just thought it was kind of like a silly little fantasy, but it's more like scary than what I thought it was. Which is surprising. And I gave it 4.5 stars.
Spooky.
Yeah, like it's like, I wouldn't say it's like spooky, it's more like unsettling almost. Like, you know, like the vibe of the back room is like
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
not like
that.
inherently scary that you're like stuck in
Yes.
these rooms, but it's like the potential of what there could be.
It's like that, I think. It fits that vibe. And then it like goes into ways that I really was not expecting it to go into. I really liked it. It is a lot of fun. It's a really quick read too, because I think it's less than 300 pages, so it's a really bingeable read. It is a great beach read
Nice.
too. The waves crashing. That's what you need. Like that's the ambiance of Piranesi.
Okay. So if you're gonna do like immersive reading, make sure you put on like wave ASMR.
Or if you're just sitting on the beach, I recommend sitting on the beach reading it, especially if you got any albatrosses near you. If you know, you know.
Well, my next read was not a beach read, but it was the When the Revolution Comes: A Fight for the Future of the Working Class by Chris Smalls. This was my last book that I read for in June to prepare for Ohio. And this is like a kind of like braided memoir of how Chris was raised, how his politics have developed, kind of like his life, and then how he ended up helping to unionize the first Amazon warehouse. I thought it was great. It's really good for beginners. I think it's quite relatable, but it's kind of just it for me. It's missing a little bit of something. I still really liked it, but
I mean, I read it, but I technically read it in July, so I really won't say
I
too
know. So you
much.
can't say anything until next month. I give it a 3.75. I still enjoyed it, but I don't know. I have a lot. I don't, it just came out. So I'm not going to say anything like too negative and like rip into it, but I do have thoughts about it.
If you want Mariah to rip into it, let us know.
I want to
And
meet him, and I'm just confused. Okay. Oh yeah, twisted my arm. I just thought it would tie
I didn't
back
do
in a little
anything.
bit more to like the anti-imperialist work that he's doing and how like it goes into that, but it kind
But
of
when did he start doing that?
doesn't.
Because it kind of, I think this book ends in like 2024, does it not?
I know. So I was like, I don't know when he stopped writing this and like when it got made. And then I don't know.
Because
He
I
had some
from
other things that he was saying about like theory and lived experience, which is like, I totally get it. But also, you need like theory and like to guide your praxis correctly, where he was just, it was a really odd thing. And it's okay. But this I could definitely see like getting the ball rolling for like blue collar workers who work in a warehouse. Like this
yeah.
could be like that book that could get them, but it's just not like I'm already there. So I read it. It's nice, but it's just not for me. And I'm really sorry. I don't know how to word it any other way than that. All I can do is apologize. I wanted to like it a lot more.
Typical white leftist of you.
No, literally.
Okay, so the last book I read in the month of June was The Beauty of Your Face by Sahar Mustafa. I read this ebook format, and this is also another Ohio author for us. So I actually read this on like the 30th of June because I like read like 200 pages of it because I was like 100 pages in. I was like, I can finish one more book. So I like sat down and like read the last 200 pages of it on like the last day of June, which this is basically a dual timeline story where you're following this girl named Afaf, I think is her name. And she's the daughter of Palestinian immigrants, and so you're following her as she grows up, and her older sister ends up going missing, and like you see like the way that how her parents are affected by this negatively, and how that affects like growing up in like a community that is like so like whitewashed and American, and then while also you're following her in the future where she ends up becoming a principal of like a Muslim school like for girls. Like I don't know exactly, like I don't think it's a real school, but then while she's principal at that school, then there's like an alt-right shooter that is breaking into the school at the same time, so you're following the dual timelines. I liked it. I gave it 3.75 stars. I think the pacing was a little weird because it was like the times that it was like jumping back and forth, it felt very odd to me because it didn't feel like super, I don't know, like I don't want to say like it wasn't like formatted in a way that I feel like you'll be really into like the past perspective and then it'll jump to like a future perspective and you're like jarred by that, where I wish either it was just like a continuous timeline or maybe done a little differently. It also felt very YA for it to not be a YA book, which is really interesting to me. But I do think it does give you a lot to learn about, like, because originally like our main character, she's not raised like religious at all, but then she does end up finding religion. So it is interesting to see that perspective too, because you kind of assume like with the way that Americans are like conditioned and stuff, you just like assume that like every person in like a Muslim country is going to be like religiously as well, and that's not necessarily always true, but then people can learn to find the religion just like anybody can learn to find like Christianity or whatever have you. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective to get that really like Palestinian immigrant, where I do think I wish it did go more into, there were like a few like sides that were like talking about like the genocide in Palestine and like what was happening, like what's happening to them currently too is like bad, but it didn't go super in depth. Like it sounds like almost like, to compare the book that you read, I don't remember the name of it, like that seemed like that went more in depth about the political aspect of like the way that the American imperialism and stuff is, where this has a little bit of sidebars like critiquing American imperialism, but it's not super like, I don't know, it doesn't come to fruition the way that I was looking for it to.
Yeah. You'll have to read the other one and see how it compares.
Yeah. Because they seem like this very similar like vibes and everything, like, but obviously one is Pakistani and one is Palestinian, but it seems like almost like the same overarching, where they could be very good like parallel reads to have with each other too.
Yeah. Especially if one's YA and the other one's like an adult, like maybe like
it says it's supposed to be adult, but it feels very YA because you are growing up with her all throughout, like from whenever she's like, I don't know, between like maybe 7-ish to her being a full adult woman with children and
interesting
everything too. So like you really do get to grow up with her. I don't know what you would call that. It's not like graphic in any way either though, like in a way that like I think a teenager could read it and be perfectly fine reading it, you know?
Yeah.
But
okay.
I mean, I liked it. It's still good. It's just I was expecting, I guess, more conversations about what was going on, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. Now, I'm going to take you guys down. That was the last bit of stuff that we were reading for Ohio, I think. We're close.
Mm-hmm. That's all. I'm done.
I read one of the worst books I think I've ever read, possibly in my life, and it is My Dreadful Darling by H.G. Carlton. This is part of the Hollow's Grave duet. This is the first one. This book just came out, and I kept seeing it. She's been advertising it for like, since I read Haunting Adeline. She kept leaving little tidbits on her account, like she's writing this book. It doesn't have any connection to the other ones. Anyways, this is like a bully romance is like the trope of this. But like the girl, like they're in college, which I was already like, ooh, I'm too old for this. That's the only issue, is I'm 30. And they act so immature, because how do I explain this without like sending us into overtime? She's the daughter of this serial killer that killed this what is he, an Olympic swimmer that's like the same age as her. His mom allegedly, and like his testimony at 8 years old is what put her dad away, but like nobody believes it. So they all kind of like hate him in real life, but then somehow through his fame and uprising, through becoming an Olympian, he's got like this clique of people at college that like him. So he just like tortures the main girl, Riviere or whatever. And then they end up getting to, because that's like the nature of the book. They get together. It is so bad. It is so immature. And it feels like somebody who is in their 30s writing about young 20-year-olds in college, because some of the stuff, some of the lines that are in this, I have them highlighted. They're on my Goodreads. I'm going to explain the entire plot and break it down to Kristen in one of these videos one of these days. It was so bad. It was so bad. This is the worst book that she has written. 1 star.
It's surprising considering Mariah gave Haunting Adeline 5 stars.
This makes Haunting Adeline look like a 5-star book. I'm not even going to hold you.
I don't even think
that's how bad it is.
Well, because Haunting Adeline already is a 1-star book, so
like it's the 5-star of the 1-star books.
Isn't this book like 600 pages?
I honestly think this may be the reason that I was having such a hard time reading, is because of this book. Because I was just like, okay, I'm gonna read it, whatever.
You were doing it to yourself.
I was. But then I was like locked in. I was like, there's no way. It was really bad. And then the last book I read, I feel very conflicted about, and it's The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I watched the show, the first couple of seasons, and I really enjoyed it, right? Before I had proper class consciousness.
When you were a liberal.
And principles, right? And I think most people know what it's about, but it's like a dystopian world where they're living in this land called Gilead, and it's very like Christo-fascist, but like the women that can have children because like population rates are dropping, they have to go and like essentially like have babies the natural way with these like bureaucrats and aristocrats for them, and then they give them up and they have to like go to a new family. So they're the handmaids. There's a lot to it. This is written very well. It is written really fucking well. I get why people like it, and I will read the testaments too. But the politics in this book are so like the West is freedom. We just didn't know what we had, and it's really weird. So weird. But the writing on it is so good, and I've not had this experience where I've read something and I was like, oh.
So you're gonna read Manacled or Alchemized? Sorry,
I did want to read this before I read Manacled, just so I had the foundation.
You're not reading Manacled, are you? Or are you reading Alchemized? Which one
it is called Alchemized. The
official one.
The official, the legit one.
Because I read the fan fiction one.
You read the one connected to the IP. I'm going to read the one that's separated. I give it a 3.75 star, though. I just wanted to read the classic. It's been on my shelf. I did listen to the audiobook, but also I had the actual book. And
tandem read.
Would kind of, where I'd like listen to it and then I'd like go back through and like read sections. I don't know if people do that, where I've just gone to the point with reading audiobooks where I can just like find where I'm at. I know like almost exactly where I'm at when I'm listening to them. Maybe I'm just cracked at Fortnite, but that's about it. That's where I'm at.
I either, if I'm reading, like if I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm physically reading it, then I stay that way the whole time. If I'm just listening to the audiobook, then I'll just listen to it the whole time.
Okay. Because there's some points where I was like, wait, I need to go back and I need to go look at that. And then I like pick up the book and I find the section and I just read it.
No, because I can't just sit there and listen to it and like stare off into space. I'll like start zoning out and thinking about who knows what. I'll be like, I have no idea what happened.
Dangerous. So, do you have any DNFs?
I did DNF one book this month. It's Killed the Beast by Sarah Swift, which I did talk about it in our last one because it was like what I was currently reading. But I ended up DNFing this at 48% of the way through the book. And it was like a Beauty and the Beast retelling about a girl who was like, I guess trying to enact revenge on like the creature that killed her brother. Which, okay, I don't know the twist, but like I'm assuming what the twist was because there was like this dude that like shows up and like has to be like her partner for stuff. But like we never met the beast, so I don't know if it was like a werewolf situation because he really wanted the beast dead too. So I'm thinking it's like he's the beast and like he turns into the beast. So like, because they're like, he only shows up at the summer solstice and the winter solstice. And it's like, so where is he now? We don't know. So I'm assuming that the main dude in it was like the beast, which... Totally correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't read it. Again, I didn't finish it. I lost my Libby hold on it, and I just never was like felt the need to like I need to check this out again. The romance, like I was 48%, and it was supposed to be like a romantasy and like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Where was that? I don't know. There was like no romance in it. Like you could see like it was going to be like the two main characters being a romance, but it was like chopped. Like it was not like romancing. Like they were just like, the dude's really nice and she's an asshole all the time. How will this ever work? Sort of thing. And there was also like whenever there was action, it would just like flash forward. Like it was never on page. It'd be like, and then I beat them all up. And then it was like, okay. Like I think that would have been way cooler if you would have kept that action in. Which this is an author that's going to be at the Ohio Book Fest too, by the way. So maybe we avoid her, no offense, but...
That's okay, because my other DNF was somebody that's at the Ohio Book Fest.
Oh, okay. Well, but then, so, I was just like, the Libby hole ended, so I was like, you can stay in Libby purgatory forever, or you don't have to come with me. So, I DNF'd it.
I think that's okay. I think that's kind of like part of like this, our little mini challenge, was to see how many we get through before which we did pretty good. We did pretty good. This one,
we have to go count. And see how
I
many
read Invasive Species by Ellery Adams. Actually, I didn't read it. I only got to 10%. because I DNF'd it. It's supposed to be like this horror thriller about this mysterious neighbor who was like a witch and kills people or something. But I did not like how it was written. I did not like the writing style of this. It felt very, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. Like, it kind of reminded me of The Maid from by Nita Prose
Oh,
at
okay.
times, like that kind of like silly whimsy style. But it just didn't work for me. And I was just like, I got so much other shit I'm reading right now. I don't have time. I'm really sorry. Maybe it does develop into something cool, but I don't give a fuck.
All right, and what are we currently reading? Right now, my first book that I'm currently reading is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which is, if you don't know about like the Realm of the Elderling series, I don't know about all of them. I only know about this one because it's the only one I'm reading. 30% in, and you follow Fitz, who's like a bastard of the next king in line, and basically what happens is because like he ends up showing up and is like, hey, I'm like the king, the next, he's like a prince still, but he's going to be the king. He's like, hey, I'm your bastard, and then they're like, oh shit, like he can't be king anymore because he has bastard kids and he's evil. Which his name was Prince Chivalry, so you're like, oh, maybe he's not so chivalrous after all, guys. And so then he gets exiled. So then Fitz is like being raised in like the castle and stuff, and they're like, you know what, Fitz, you should be an assassin for us. And then right now he's still a little boy learning how to be an assassin. That's where I'm at right now. I'm only like 30% of the way in, and I think it's going to be, there's a lot of like, it's magical but not super magical yet, which I think there's going to be more, and it's already very, very politically like intriguing with like the way the court politics and stuff are going on. So I'm really eating it up. My fiance is also reading it with me, and he's eating it up, and he's already ahead of me, and he's like, you need to catch up because I can't talk about anything until you catch up. So I definitely need to catch up. And I think it could easily be a 5-star for me.
I think you will. I think this is gonna be like your next thing.
We'll see.
We're gonna find out. My last little currently reading, I really am only reading one pretty seriously right now, and it's the
This
Dragon Wakes with Thunder by KX Song.
is the reason why you're only reading one book is because of the challenge that is starting.
Yeah, kind of. I was like, I think I'm gonna reel it back a little bit because I don't want to start anything. I do have like on my nightstand, I have Outlander, but I've only read like 20 pages, so I'm really not. I don't have anything to say about it. But
That's
this
how I
one,
am.
I just don't know because I don't want to get too far into it. I don't.
Don't
It's like
want to spoil the first book, so
there's a lot of court politics, but I'm also just a little confused as to why this couldn't all have been like one big book because I think it would have been fine. Like a 700 or page book. It would have been long, but I think it could have worked.
I don't know. I wonder if they're standalone. Are they YA or anything? Or like,
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I haven't looked at it on Goodreads. I just picked it up.
Well, the next book I am technically also reading, I'm in the same boat with you with Outlander. I'm reading Moon Machine, The Rise of Spotify, and the Cost of a Perfect Playlist by Liz Pelly.
I've heard that's really good.
So did I. It's basically like the history of like pirating first before Spotify, and like the history of Spotify and like algorithms and all that yada yada yada. But it's also supposed to be true crimey because it talks about like a lot of the court cases and stuff that I guess like legally happened and stuff. And the only reason why I wanted to read, like, it was on my TBR because Schizophrenic Reads, Nathan, he talked about it and like gave it 5 stars and was like, oh, this is really good. So I was like, oh, okay, it's on my TBR. But then Drew Gooden made a YouTube video, and he's like, he started the YouTube video, he's like talking about like Spotify. He's like, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about I got from this book called Moon Machine by Liz Pelly. And I was like, wait a second, isn't that on my TBR? And it is. So then I can't watch the YouTube video until I finish this book. So now I have to finish this book before I can watch a YouTube video I really want to watch.
Oh, maybe Nathan influenced. Wouldn't that be like a crossover? Sorry,
I do not think that happened though, but
battery. I didn't realize my laptop was so low. But luckily we're at the end, so it's all right.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, no offense to Nathan, but I don't think he influenced Drew Gooden because he's like a musician now. Like, he's in a band and stuff. So I think he just kind of like cares about that. But I guess if that's everything, right?
Wait. Starting July 7th, Chris and I are embarking on the
July
journey
7th where I am right now.
Oh shit, you can already get started. Anyways, we're doing the hardest reading challenge you'll
ever do.
attempt or ever do.
You'll ever do. 3.
I don't know
Number 3.
The acronym for it. This is a very difficult reading challenge. But we thought it'd be fun. Kristen's doing one version. I'm doing a different version. My goal for this is just to get one bingo all the way through, honestly. I just want to challenge myself with reading different things. Because I have some stuff that's on my TBR that will fit into these.
You're only going for one bingo?
I don't know. If I'm doing the whole thing, it's a lot.
I think you should do the whole thing. You already read 150 books in a year. You have no reason not to. So it's a bingo board, and so there's 25 prompts, but then, like, each of the prompts, like, have different numbers of books that you have to do. So, like, for example, one of them is, like, you have to count to 10. So it's, like, read a book with 1 in the title, 2 in the title, but not including, like, volume 1, volume 2. It's got to be, like, one day everyone will have always been against this, and then, like, the 5th season would be your 5 and stuff like that. But then also a random number, where I'm not going to go that in depth with it. I'm just going to try to get a coverall twice, so 50 books ish for, like, each category. I'm trying to get 2 books basically for each one.
Yeah, so when you get 2 for each one, are you just going to cross it off?
Pretty much, I think.
It's a lot.
Who knows? So that might be influencing what we read for these next year, for the book club, for the podcast. Who knows? Thankfully, the way that this challenge is structured, I can link the video below of QWERTY, the creator, and their video talking about it super in depth. They have, like, a whole hour-long video explaining every single prompt on it, and then, like, what it is, which we just wanted to try something new. I mean, Mariah and I have never really done, like, a reading challenge, and I think we're mostly trying to stick to stuff that we already have on, like, our physical TBR to focus on getting our physical TBR cleaned up.
That was the fun part, is I was like, okay, let's see what we have to see if we can even make a dent. And we did have quite a lot that fit the little prompts. So I think it'll be fun. I think it's something different, some other guiding. So it's not just moods. And I think prepping for this book fest has been kind of a good little training for that.
Yeah, where we have more of, like, a plain TBR, which normally I just go based off vibes, and then I pick up the book club whenever I have to read the book club book.
I know, and I'm going to have to read that soon.
I know.
I'm going to grind it out. So now hopefully we stay healthy, because I would not wish this upon anyone. It's been, like, 2 weeks. It was not the flu. It was not either strain of the flu. I don't know if it was RSVP.
It became bronchitis. That's what we know.
Bronchitis. I got X-rays in my lungs, and now I have an inhaler. So that's fun. I still sound so croupy when I laugh.
You sound better than you did. There was something else I was going to say.
What's next? And then we'll just work. The fifth season might be the only book review this month.
Okay, well, I guess other than that, thanks for listening. If you have any recommendations of what you want us to read, if you're participating in HRCYED, let us know. We definitely
the Ohio Book Fest.
Yeah, come see us. Yeah, this will be up before the Ohio Book Fest, but if you're reading for HRCYED, let us know what you're reading for your different prompts, and maybe we could all bounce our ideas off each other. Other than that, thank you and good night.